Imagine the soundtrack of your life. For Kelly Ripa, it was a symphony of laughter at 5 a.m., the whirlwind of a New York City workday, the sweet chaos of a family dinner. It was a vibrant, percussive, glorious noise. And then, in one quiet, sterile doctor's office, the music stopped. This isn't a story about a celebrity we think we know. This is a story about a silence that fell, a diagnosis that shattered, and a choice that would redefine everything. It's a story that might feel uncomfortably familiar, a story that whispers of our own vulnerabilities. But stick with me, because this is also a story about a secret weapon, a power that every single one of us possesses, especially you, especially now. This is the story of how Kelly Ripa was handed a life sentence and discovered the key to her freedom. Our story begins not with a crash, but with a whisper. For months, Kelly had been dismissing the signs, a fatigue that a third cup of coffee couldn't touch, a brain fog that made remembering a producer's name feel like trying to catch smoke. She chalked it up to what we all do. It's just a busy season. I'm not getting any younger. I just need a good night's sleep. Can you relate, Carol? That deep down ache you tell yourself is just part of the deal? The slow, steady dimming of your own inner light that you accept as normal? Kelly was a master of pushing through. She's built a career on boundless energy. But you can't outrun your own biology. The body keeps score. And finally, pushed by her husband Mark, who saw the light in her eyes flickering, she agreed to a full, top-to-bottom workup. She walked into that doctor's office expecting a prescription for vitamins, a pat on the head, and a get more rest. What she got instead was a verdict. The doctor's face was grim. The words that came out of his mouth were complex, clinical, and utterly devastating. It wasn't cancer. It wasn't a failing heart. It was something else, something chronic, something progressive. An autoimmune disorder, a silent civil war raging inside her own body, where her own defenses were turning against her. The prognosis? A lifetime of managing pain, a gradual slowing down, a future where the vibrant, high-energy life she had built was no longer sustainable. The doctor called it early onset. Well, the name isn't important. What's important was the message. The life you know is over. Kelly has described that moment as an out-of-body experience. The world went mute. She saw the doctor's lips moving, but all she could hear was a roaring in her ears. It was a sucker punch to her soul. She looked at her own hands, the very instruments of her work, her life, and saw them as foreign objects, betrayers. What about her show? What about her early mornings? What about dancing at her children's weddings? The dreams she had for this next glorious chapter of her life shattered in an instant. Have you been there, in that sterile room, receiving news that changes your map of the future? It feels like an ending. It feels like a door slamming shut, locking you in a room you never wanted to enter. For Kelly, the drive home was a blur. The world outside the car window looked the same, but she knew irrevocably that nothing would ever be the same again. She walked into her apartment, saw Mark's worried face, and collapsed into his arms, the weight of it all finally crushing her. This is where our story could have ended. A sad headline, a tragic tale of a vibrant life cut short. But this is Kelly Ripa we're talking about. After the tears came the anger, a white-hot, clarifying anger. She wasn't angry at her body. She was angry at the sentence. She was angry at the narrative that had been handed to her. Manage your decline, accept your limitations, slow down. For a woman whose personal brand was bottled lightning, this was a fate worse than death. And in that fury, she found her first spark of light. She refused to be the passive patient. She refused to let a diagnosis become her identity. This right here is the first cliffhanger, the moment between the breakdown and the breakthrough. What would you do? Would you accept the prognosis, or would you go to war? Kelly chose war, but her weapon wasn't denial. It was something far more powerful. Something that science is only just beginning to understand. She embarked on a quest, a modern-day grail search, for a different answer. And what she discovered on that journey would not only change her life, It would shock her doctors and reveal a secret about human health that has been hidden in plain sight for centuries. She assembled a new team, not just doctors, but mavericks, a functional medicine practitioner, a nutritionist who talked about food as information, a mindfulness coach who looked more like a surfer than a therapist. They didn't just look at her lab results, they looked at her life, her stress, her sleep, her joy. They started connecting dots no one had thought to connect before. The gut inflammation linked to the brain fog, the adrenal fatigue linked to a lifetime of high-pressure performance. This wasn't about treating a disease, it was about rebuilding an ecosystem, the ecosystem of Kelly. And the first and most shocking prescription she was given, it had nothing to do with pills. It was play. That's right, play. Her doctors, these brilliant, forward-thinking minds, told the woman who had just been handed a devastating chronic illness diagnosis that she needed to have more fun. They said her nervous system was stuck in a fight-or-flight state, a constant red alert that was fueling the autoimmune fire. She needed to consciously, deliberately move it into a state of rest and digest. And the most effective way to do that? Laughter, connection, purposeful joy. Not passive relaxation, but active, childlike play. Can you imagine? After a lifetime of achieving, of striving, of doing, her most important job was to play? To schedule fun like it was a business meeting? To seek out laughter as if her life depended on it? Because, as it turns out, it did. This was the surprising twist, the counterintuitive magic that began to rewire her from the inside out. But this was just the foundation. The real earth-shattering revelation was yet to come. A discovery so profound, it would make her question everything she thought she knew about her own body and its capacity to heal. A discovery that lies dormant inside you, too, waiting for its cue. What was this mysterious, innate power that Kelly Ripa's doctors helped her unlock? It's the same power that you have access to at this very moment. And when we return, I'll reveal not only what it is, but the simple 3-step process she used to activate it, a process that left her doctor speechless and transformed her prognosis from a life sentence to a life reborn. Don't go away. The most inspiring part of the story is just ahead.